Hi everyone, welcome to BumbleBeeCrafts. Thanks for tuning in to another video from me. Apologies, my voice is a bit croaky this morning. I'm getting over another bad migraine, so it's eased, the headache has eased, but I'm still left with a little bit of the fatigue that I always get afterwards. But I wanted to come on and today to do the Fabric Friday video, which we're doing journal covers. So I have done this in a previous one, or many weeks ago now, months even ago, but I know Elizabeth, hello Elizabeth, asked if I could revisit them, and it also is actually a good thing because in next week's video I want to show you how to use the fabric flowers that we've been mass making over the last couple of weeks, but I've got an idea for a journal topper, so I kind of need to make a journal cover, so I thought it'd be perfect now to revisit the journal covers and just to show you the different types of or the two main methods as to the way I look at journal covers and make them. So I've got some ideas here that we'll get to. I'm just going to move that to the side. So when I'm looking at the fabric, I decide which method I'm going to use, and I have two go-to methods that I like to use. The first one is the most simplest of all, and that is to have raw edges of the material. They just get stuck together and sewn around, which we're going to do that one in a moment. We'll start with this one. I love a little bit of a frayed edge on here. It gives me the opportunity to add some lace and everything. And I also, when I decide, oh, I'm going to do this way or the other way, I also like to decide about pockets. And as you can see, I've got pinned here two different pockets. I need to sew along here with the lace for the edging, and then just tack it down with the just a little basting stitch on here. But that's one way that I leave, is raw edges, nice and simple, which we'll come to doing in a minute. And the other way that I like to do journals, which I thought if I do the one in the same material we can compare them, is you've got your bit of material and I fold it over, so each I miter the corners, and then that's all folded over, glued down, nice and neat. So we'll come to this technique as well. But I look at the material and kind of decide which way I want to go. Now, just to recap, the size that I use for my journal covers is based on a large envelope size. I had quite a few old ones of these that I was using for a while, and that size, I just find, for me personally, that size works. It's 32.5 centimeters by 23, or in inches it's 12 3/4 by 9. So that gives me, here in the UK we have A4 size. If I put an A4 on here, you can see you get a nice bit of a border around it, which gives you scope to add frills to the edge of your pages, to have a slightly larger book page in here, without going outside of your journal cover. And I just find it helps keep it neat. Not that I mind lots of frills hanging off of the edge and bits poking out the top and stuff. I don't mind that, but when I'm first planning my cover, this is the size I tend to use. And when I haven't got any envelopes to use, then I go for a piece of card. This is just some bit creased, but it's some craft card that I've got left in my stash. And it's just something to give it a little bit of a strength, especially because these materials are really soft and floppy. So this is one of the basic ideas that I do with my journaling covers. So once I've decided on the method, whether it's just going to have raw edges and be stuck down nice and easy, I then go and decide on obviously the fabric front and back, and if I want to add any extra lace. So I've got pinned here some lace that I want to add here, and as I just mentioned, I've got pinned here a couple of pockets. So I'm going to now sew along this top bit to secure the lace onto the pocket, and then just sew around the pocket here. Do the same with this one and sew around there, and then on the front and back, because I did put some on the back as well, I'm just going to stitch this lace down on here before we start. So I'm going to get that done and I will be back. Hello again. So I've gone and stitched around. I've just done a straight running stitch along there, so that's all secure, and then I've stitched the pockets. I first did the lace as I said I was going to do, and then I've just stitched around the little pockets. So we're ready to put this together. So I'm going to start with this, which is on the inside of the pocket, and I'm going to use my good old Fabri-Tac glue and just put some glue all around on here. I don't do too much because I'm going to do stitching to hold it all together. So what I tend to do first is just put some like this all on the middle, just to tack it down. I think I'm going to lay it and do it this way, lay that down and then put this over here and just try and center that. There we go. So lift that up and that's stuck that down, and then what I do is I go around the edges. Once that bit's in place, it just makes it a bit easier for me. So we'll tuck that down nicely. Come along here and just put some glue along here. As I said, I'm not going too heavy on the glue, because I am then going to stitch it all together again all around the outside. Okay, so we want to come up this bit. So you can use whichever glue that you like to use for fabric. And then we're on to this little top bit here. There we go. Now this glue looks like it is going to seep through a little bit, but that's fine. We can add other bits on if it doesn't dry clear enough. Well, it dries clear but leaves a bit of a mark. Okay, so I'm going to do the same again with this. Just going to put some glue in that middle bit. Make sure I'm on my mat, then I know I'm in camera. There we go. Now, which side do I want as the front? That's the front. So I need this to go this way. And then I'm just going to try and line it all up like so. That bit of cotton. Let's just have a look from the front. Yeah, I can just do that there. Okay, so now I'm going to go around this bit like I did on the inside. Along here. sure that's nice. And this is just what I call my simple rough way of doing things. It's not, you know, the edges aren't folded over or anything neat like that. You get a nice frilly edge to them, which I do like. Okay, so what I would do now is leave that to dry, and then I would do a stitch all the way round. I know we've stitched these on anyway, but I probably would do a zigzag stitch on here just to add a different level of stitching. And that would then be a journal cover. Very quick and simple way to do it. So that's my option one. Let me put that behind me actually to dry. Actually to the side. I'm trying to find a bit of space in here so that it dries flat. So my next option that I like to do as well is, if I want a neater looking journal, is I fold over the edges. So I've got exactly the same material as I did with the first one, so that we can do a bit of comparison of the two ways that I like. And this time round I use two pieces, because each one gets covered in a piece of card, so it actually makes the journal a little bit tougher doing it this way. So if you want a stronger journal cover, then this is the way to go. Actually, I wanted to save on my Fabri-Tac glue, and I learned from when I did my masterboards that this particular glue actually holds it down enough so that we can then tack it round afterwards. So I'm just going to put a bit of glue all around here like so, and then just plop this down kind of centered on here. I'll flip it over and make sure it's all smoothed out, because Fabri-Tac glue is expensive, so because we're then folding it over, it doesn't matter if this doesn't permanently stick on this bit here. That's lovely. Okay, so I'm going to go around and mite my corners, and they're literally just coming in and off like so. Often when I do this style of journal cover, I will put book corners on just to help protect the corners, because I don't fold the material in. That you can do it, I could have folded it in and folded it over like that, but that I often find it makes it quite chunky in the corners. Plus I like the look of the book corners as well. So this time I would use Fabri-Tac glue, because I really want this to stick down. So I'm going to just put a bead of glue all along here. Make sure that edge is tight, and then I'm going to go on to the fabric. Like so. There we go. And then I push against that line of the card, the edge, and push it up that way. There we go. And then I do the opposite side, so that I make sure that this is really nice and tight and neat on here. So along here, come off and come on to fabric. There we go. Lift that up. And then from the front, you can see that that's all nice and smooth. Okay, so we'll turn that round and we'll do the ends. So how are you all doing? I hope you're doing well. It's actually a lovely sunny morning this morning. Temperatures are increasing as well. We're supposed to now have some nice weather now that we're into June, which will be good, although I don't want it to get too hot because that really does play my health up when it's too hot. But yeah, we never know with the way our weather is as to what we're going to get, whether we're going to get cold weather or we're going to get hot heat waves. It's just so unpredictable nowadays with the climate change and everything. Okay. That is now one very neat cover. Look at that. That's lovely. Okay, so I will repeat the process now with this one. My lid on there. Lay that on here, and we're just going to go ahead and do the glue on here. Now this may well show through, but the purple is supposed to dry, well, it does dry clear, so hopefully it will dry clear on this material. Lay that down. Now, because this is quite thin, and you can see that I've used a brown coloured card, if you didn't want to see that, you could back it with something, or you could just use a bit of white card. I'm not too fussed because this is quite dark anyway, so I don't mind that this has a slightly darker hue behind it. Okay, so let's cut our corners. Okay, so that's that mitered. So again, we'll go in with the Fabri-Tac glue on this one because I want it to stick down really well. Okay. The same as before, smooshing up on that edge to get a really nice crisp edge. There. Do the same on this side. Just going to wipe the nozzle of my glue. There we go. Okay. Hold it over, smoosh it out. the two ends. Go. Oops, a bit of the goober off the end there. So that's that end all nicely smoothed over. And then this end. And as I said, these are my go-to methods of doing journal covers. I either leave a raw edge and then just sandwich it in between, or I will do this method. Like so. Let's just wipe the end of my glue. Okay, so those are then ready to be stuck together, and then we will stitch around them. So I think what I'm going to do is just glue them this bit for now, which I'm going to use my glue stick again, and it's card on card, so this will stick well, like so. Get them lined up. Before we now I'm going to put any extra glue on there. Do you know what? I'm not going to. You can, if you weren't convinced your stitching would stick, you could then put some glue around inside here, but I think I'm going to let that dry, and then I'm going to go round and stitch all the way around here. It depends on how close I go. I might need to put some more glue in afterwards, but we'll see. So let's see, we've got this one that's now ready to be stitched around, and this one just needs to dry. So I'm going to do these. I'm going to pause the video here. Once they're dry, I'm going to stitch around them, and then I will come back and we can carry on with our journal covers. Hello again. So I've gone and sewed round my two covers that we've just put together. One thing I forgot to mention, I've mentioned before, but I do recommend getting some jeans needles. Doesn't have to be this brand, depends on your sewing machine, but each sewing machine make will have various different types of needles, and I recommend getting a jeans or a leather. Either one of them, the strength of them is much stronger and will go through thicker material. And when you think about how these two were put together, not only have you got two thicknesses of card, but especially in the corners, you've probably got what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you've probably got up to 8 thicknesses of fabric to go through. Obviously 4 around here and 2 of the card, so a standard needle will not go through. You will end up breaking it if you go through on here. But as you can see, you don't actually need to stitch. If you glue right to the very edge, then you don't have to stitch if you're not someone that uses your sewing machine a lot. But yeah, I do recommend getting yourself some jeans needles because they will go through. So you need it for that method. This method's absolutely fine. It's just a couple of layers of material and one piece of the card, and it just goes through nice and easy. Not a problem at all with this one. Stitched all around there. So all I then do to finish my covers, especially with this one, is I do use my scoreboard. You don't have to, you could fold it that way, but I just like to use my scoreboard to make sure I've got it just helps with the card underneath. Now I need to measure on here where my center line is, and we are, so yeah, 32.5, so half of 30 is 15. Shows you how bad my maths is. So half of 2 would make that 16, so we want 16.25 roughly on here. We've only got 16.5, so I'm going to move it ever so slightly so that I'm coming in halfway between there, and that should, so I'm going to score this way. I'm going to turn it over and do the same this way. Because we've put card underneath, I think it just, for me personally, it just helps me get a much neater fold. So there we go. And then I just very carefully tease it over, make sure we've got them. And I don't use the bone folder with my covers, I just use my hand. Sorry, that's probably off. There we go. I just use my hand, so that it's like that, and then time you get your cover on and it's tied up, that will stop flapping up. But yeah, I don't press too, I just do finger press, I don't use the bone folder on here. But that is our journal cover, and by using the bone folder it negates most of the creases from the card inside. I find to get a much neater one. So there we go, that's one journal cover done. With this one, it's much softer. You're not going to get anything. So what I do with this one is I don't use my bone folder. So let's move my scoreboard out of my way. Oops, everything's falling down. Oh, there we go. Clumsy moment there. Okay, so here, this is the cover. As I said, one sheet of the card is really soft, so what I do is I make sure my threads are lined up there. They look like they are, and I will just gently press that down. Again, I'm not doing too hard a crease, but I just want enough to know that that's where it is. So that's 2 covers, and they do look very, very different. I mean, I probably will still put some lace and some trims and stuff on this one, but this one has got more, I suppose because of all the rough edges, it's got more of an organic feel to it. It's much softer and tactile. This one still has a bit of a squidge to it, but it gives it a much sturdier, a much crisper look. So there are my 2 ideas. Not ideas, not mine, but my 2 go-to methods for doing journal covers. So I thought in the rest of the time that we've got in today's video, I've gone ahead and prepped, put those over there to the side, gone ahead and prepped some material. I've already cut some out and got my card bases ready, so that we can have a go with each method again. So I'm going to do this one that's on the top. So I've got my 2 pieces of card, and then I've just cut these bits of material. I thought this would be nice as the front cover, these lovely, lovely flowers that have been painted on, hand painted on to the material. But it frays quite a lot, which is nice, but I just feel I'm going to do the fold method on this one because I want to put this on the inside. So let's move that to the side and grab a piece of this with our Fabri-Tac glue to start with. So again, just doing the glue in the middle, then flipping it over and just kind of getting that centre. and then we can flatten that down nicely. Lovely. So we want the Fabri-Tac glue, my scissors, and we're going to go around and just miter the corners. There's quite only a thin bit on this side, but that's fine. It is enough to go over it, and we're sticking two together, so I'm happy that it's only a small amount here. That's not going to bother me. It was the only piece of this that I had left that was this size. Okay, so in with our Fabri-Tac glue like we did the other one. Here you go. Along there. Now I do know that the glue shows through on this silk, the Fabri-Tac glue, but this is all going to be sandwiched in between the two, so that's fine. There we go. That's nice, neat on there. Let's do this side. So yeah, hopefully we can get a batch of these different types of journal covers done. I'm just going to cut these threads off. Oops, nearly put it in my glass and not me pot of scraps. Won't be the first time I've thrown something in my cup of tea instead of the little pot of rubbish that I have, or I've stuck my brush. If I've been doing some painting or something, I've put my brush in the in my cuppa instead of the water. Look at that, that's lovely. I do love this material. You've seen me use it quite a bit. Okay. That's nice. And then we'll do this edge. The other thing that I often will decide at this stage is if I'm going to do any pockets. I often find if I'm doing a journal with this kind of the folding method, so I've got two lots of card and everything in between, I leave my pockets until afterwards, until I decide on which digital I'm using, and I'll often just stick a card pocket down on the inside here and not worry too much, because you'll see the stitching. I tend to sit the pocket inside the stitching, but when I do this method, I often like to do fabric pockets like this. I just feel that it feels like it could take a fabric pocket and look nice. Okay, so that's that bit done. Let's put my lid on here, and then so that's going to be on the front, and we go this way. Oops. Again, I'm going to just cut some of them off. They're annoying me. It does fray very easily, this material. I want this glue. Now I'm going to come a little bit closer this side so that I don't lose too much of my flower, and I just want to see we're kind of centered. Yeah, that's not too bad at all actually. Let's smoosh that out from this side. Okay, now try little corners. Okay. Oh, wrong pot. So I'll keep these little bits, they'll be good for some scrappy clusters. Okay, get rid of those bits. Right, I'm going to start with the little ones this time so that I've got, don't pull too much of my flower down. And then it's gone grey. It started first thing this morning when I did the first little bit of the video before I left everything to dry. The sun was out, but there's a few blue clouds still around, but it's gone quite grey today. Well, now it has. It's enjoying a drop of sunshine. Okay. Let's move that from that side. Yeah, that's going to be nice. So that's the front cover. I think that'd be nice with a little bit of lace perhaps down there or something. Nice. Okay, let's do this side. I always do the opposite side so that you can pull that bit taut that way, taut that way. It's just the way I do it. You don't have to do it that way. I don't think it really matters. Yeah, that's nice. So I'll come this way now. Let's get rid of that. Go quiet while I'm doing this. Yeah. I'll have to wipe my nozzle before the next one. Got lots of threads all on it. Okay, let's have a look at that. Yeah, I think they would look good because you're getting a little bit of a fray here. So I often will do these sorts with book corners. Okay, where did my tissue go? I must just wipe that off. Okay, there we go. Let's fold this over. Yeah, so that's another one done. Okay, now let's put the two together. So do we want to see that dark colour there, or do we want to go with the light colour there? I think I'm going to go with the light colour. So let's use the glue stick in here. Get this lined up. Make sure we are. Now what I am going to do with this one, because it'll be a little while before I do it, I am going to go along on the, oops, get rid of that thread, on the inside here and Fabri-Tac glue it down right on my edge. That way you can see what it looks like when you don't have, if you're not sewing. So all the way along here, extra along this bit, carry on down here, and again do a bit of extra. Carry on, sealing the two together, and then the last little bit is on here. Okay. Oops, my glue's oozing out. It's probably because it's getting near the end. My new bottle has now arrived after I mistakenly got the dates wrong for ordering it from Amazon. Okay, so that looks like that's stuck down. What I tend to do is put a bit of a weight on it if it looks like it's not going to glue. I'm just looking at it off under there. Yeah, it's really sealed itself really nicely all the way along there. So I will leave that one to dry. I will still sew because actually it goes that way, doesn't it? Because I do think it'd look nice with some stitching around it. But that's that one ready. Let's wipe all of this off of here, and then I will check my time and see how we're doing. 20 minutes with my other one, which was 40. Or we might have time to do another one. Now, yeah, with this one, it's the same method I'm going to be using as I've just done, but this material is very, very thin. I don't know if you can see how thin it is. You get a bit of a ghosting shadow through it, and when I've got the brown under it, I didn't really want that. So I've just got some material here that was in between an old fabric blind. So you had the lovely patterned material, you had this, which I believe is what they use for blackout blinds. It's actually really feels nice. It's almost got a velvety feel to it. It's actually really nice. But I'm just going to use that so that I can get a much nicer white feel to it. And then this is going to be my front cover, because I eventually want to do a bee journal. I'm collecting little bits, although it's taking a while because of the cost of everything. But yeah, sourcing some bee ephemera bits and bobs and stuff. Okay, so I want to glue this onto here. So I'm going to come on, It'll wait for my Fabri-Tac glue to come back down again. So that's the other thing you can do, is you can line your fabric. You don't have to do just one thickness. If you find your material is a bit too thin, you could do okay. That's a good amount of glue on there. Now I'm going to lay this down, and I did cut this to virtually the same size, so let's plop it down. Yeah, virtually the same size, because we're going to do the folding over method, so it needed to be that same size. Okay, and then this is going to fold over. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a bit of a glue along the middle just to hold this so it doesn't slip. Lay that on there, hold that into the middle like so. Because I don't want any glue to show through, but there'll be a tie around this, so that should be fine. Okay, let's miter the corners. This bee fabric was in a fat quarter pack that I've got. I think it came from HobbyCraft. Most of my new fat quarter packs come from HobbyCraft. But that material is an old blind material, and the silk material is from my dressmaking days. So any kind of material that I use, just old clothes, that sort of thing. Okay, glue on here. That lovely. Yeah, that makes it, it's going to make it much thicker, but it actually feels warmer, if that makes sense, because you've got that lovely backing material, blind material, that's slightly velvety feel to it. Okay. That's nice. Yeah, that's looking good. Hopefully I can get this one finished. Okay. Yeah, that's backed really nicely. Although it makes it much whiter and crisper, and we tend to then add inks and stuff to grunge stuff up, I just really didn't want to see the brown card give it kind of a shadow to it, so I thought lining it would be best. Okay. So there we go. That is it lined, but done in exactly the same way. Okay. How are we for time? 28 minutes. Okay, so I'm going to carry on and do this one exactly the same, do the cover. What else have I got here to the side? Oh, I've got this one. Now this one is going to be one of these covers. So what I tend to do is at this stage, I've got my material cut ready and I've got my piece of card ready, is I will then decide on bits of lace, if I'm going to do any pockets on here, but I've got a kit in mind for this one, so I will probably leave this until I come to do it with the kit. I just know that these two are going to be perfect with it. So that's another one. So we've not done too badly, have we? That's how I do my journal covers. I'll finish that one off, and then there's this one that's been done. It's still quite wet. I can feel that one. That needs to dry quite a bit. But yeah, there we go. So I hope that's refreshed your memory as to the type of journal covers that I do, and I hope it's given you some inspiration to try these methods out. And I will be back next week with some more fabric fun, and I want to use the flowers that we've been making, so it'll be a Let's Craft with our fabric flower stash, and I will be decorating up a journal cover as well as showing you how I'd like to use them, like on pages or on tags, that kind of thing. So join me next week for some more fabric fun. Happy crafting, everybody. Take care. Bye.